I have a question for you all. Try to remember the last time you were in a cab and picture what you were doing. Were you browsing on your phone? Were you just talking to your friend? Were you guys taking a nap? For myself, I have a pretty set routine when it comes to cab rides. I try to get to know the guy behind the wheel. Fellow Toastmasters, and guests, good afternoon. For most parts, a cab ride for most people is quite mundane. It's something that you do before something far more exciting, like going to a concert, or going to a sport event, or going to the airport. You just want to get it done as soon as possible. But don't be so hasty, my friends, because a cab ride can provide you with learning opportunities. Allow me to share with you 3 of my personal stories so that I can encourage you to do something safe with your cab rides. Number 1, you can learn about your own city and make new friends. The setting for this story was Doha, Qatar. My friends and I were going to our school for an after-school program. We get into our cab and there's an older gentleman driving. And cab drivers seem to have an innate knowledge of all these hole-in-the-wall eating joints, so we were asking him about his favorite kebab shop when he gets a phone call. His tone turned grave. He's getting angry on the phone. We were all confused. He's speaking a different dialect, so we don't really know what he's talking about. He hangs up, reaches under the seat, and pulls out a giant machete. He's holding it out with one hand, he's driving with the other. Now, people might get a little bit worried about this, but for some reason, we decided to ask him what was the phone call about. He says one of his friends, his fellow gang member, was attacked by another gang. Now, we have lived in Doha for 8 years, and we had no idea about this. So we asked him more. What were these gang members? Where were they from? What they did? We were fascinated by this. And he told us everything. He told us where they used to hang out, what they did off days. He even invited us to their headquarters, which we politely declined because we had to go to school. He left us off at the school, leaving behind a group of high schoolers who had just become the newest members of the machete-carrying gang of Doha. Number 2, from small-scale city to large global events. This was Atlanta, Georgia. My friends and I were coming back from a restaurant, and we get into a cab, and this guy is an Ethiopian gentleman. We started talking about his life in the US and how is he like in Atlanta. But all of a sudden, another cab pulls right next to us. The guy in the other cab pulls down his window, shouts a few curse words at us, while our driver rolls down his window, shouts a few back at him. They both have a laugh, and the guy speeds off. We were like, what's going on here? So we asked him what happened. The story he told us was fascinating. So this guy was an Ethiopian refugee from the Ogaden Wars of 77-78, while the other man in the other cab was a Somalian refugee of the same war. They both had gone through different paths, gone through different places, and ended up at a taxi cab driver get-together in Atlanta, Georgia, and had become friends. I have read books about refugees, I had seen movies about refugees, but I had never heard a real-life account from somebody who had gone through the hardships of rural Ethiopia, gone his way through Africa, Europe, and all the way back, and all the way to Atlanta. And that was something that none of us ever knew about. So that evening, we all went back to our own dorms, did our own research, and then exchanged ideas as to what had happened, how it became, and learned a little bit about Ethiopian and Somalian history. Number 3, this is probably the most important one that I find that you can get from a cab ride, is you learn to see the adventure in unexpected places. This was back again in Doha, Qatar. My friends and I were going for a movie, a regular thing. Get into the cab, the guy is from India. So we started asking him about how his life has been in Doha, does he like it? He was pretty new to Doha as well, so we were asking him what he has seen, what he has not seen, and what brought him to Doha. And that was the key question. He told us he had escaped an attempt on his life, and he was escaping from some bad people in India. We were asking him what happened. So he told us he was a freelance journalist, a journalist who was investigating a report on organ trafficking and about to expose some big politicians. he started getting death threats as he was looking into this story, and eventually there were shootings, and he ran to Dubai, and from there fled to Doha. Now, I really don't know if he was lying to me, or he was just, or actually it happened. But for some reason, I choose to believe his story. Maybe he did run. Maybe there was an attempt on his life. Maybe he leads this special daytime cab driver, nighttime journalist, spy kind of thing going on. I do not know, but it made for a very fun ride, and that was enough for me. Now, all rides don't end in the same way. Sometimes you listen to a story, you forget about it the moment you step out. But by taking that chance and opening up a conversation with the cab driver, you gain something that you might remember for the rest of your life. So I encourage you all to do something similar. When you get into your cab, have a chat with the driver. You'll be surprised. Thank you.